We are now inside Mr. Muhammad's home. We want to thank him for being so gracious in extending this opportunity for us to explore with him the full meaning of the black Muslims. He has written a book called Message To The Blackman in America, which will soon be published. And we have used this book to base a number of our questions to Mr. Muhammad. Mr. Muhammad, in this book you make a number of stipulations, which we would like to press you on in the course of this session today. One, you call for the separation of the Negro into a separate state, either in this United States or made possible by the United States. Two, you say that war between the whites and the blacks is inevitable.
Yes. I'm very glad to answer these questions, Mr. Cup, to you and to the world. They are most essential that we should give the world the answer to such questions. I have been preaching and teaching the answers to these questions for many years. I give thanks first, Mr. Cup, to God, who came in the person of Master Fard Mohammad around 34 years ago now to me. And all that I have and been teaching, it is from him. And it is very easy for us to recognize the visit of this mighty one according to the time. If we have the knowledge of the time that we are living in, we can accept and respect this mighty visitor in this part of the world to fulfill that which was written of him, that he will come. And now he has come, and he has given out his purpose and his aims, as it also is written in the Bible and Quran. And therefore, I have nothing of myself in this answer. It is all from him.
From him, you mean the messenger of Allah?
No, not the messenger of Allah. I am the messenger of Allah. I mean from Allah himself, who came in the person of Master Fard Mohammad.
Who preceded you as the head of the Muslims?
Well, he was actually the beginner. Yes, sir. And I'm taught by him. This separation we begin with, it is absolutely necessary. We have lived here in America for the last 400 years and have served our slave masters well before these past 100 years. And now the time has arrived that we want something for ourselves. The natural spirit of God is moving in us and making us to think in such terms towards self. And the doing for self is now getting into the very life of the black man in America. We want to go for self. We want to be ourselves. This is aroused in us by God himself. And to oppose it means nothing but death to either side. If we oppose it, it's death for us. If others oppose it, it's death to them.
But even your own people oppose it, Mr. Muhammad, if I may interject a thought here. Most of the civil rights leaders with whom I know you disagree, Dr. Martin Luther King, and Whitney Young, and Roy Wilkins, and James Foreman, and James Farmer, and any number of others, all believe in integration, getting along with the whites and moving into the same society.
This is all due to their lack of knowledge of the time and what should be done in such time. They don't know that this is their time, that they should be separated or they should go for themselves. This is what I'm trying to teach them. Teach them that this is the time that they should go for themselves.
But is it not, would you disagree that it is the ambition and the goal of most Negroes in this country to become Americans in every meaning of that word, to participate in our society, to be responsible, legitimate, honest citizens? Isn't that the goal of the overwhelming number of Negroes in this country?
It may be their goal, Mr. Cup, because that they don't even know, as I just said, that this is the time that they should be going for self. And lack of knowledge of the time, the lack of knowledge of self. The American so-called Negro, especially the leading class, do not actually know themselves. Excuse my voice as I'm look like trying to be a little hoarse this morning, but however, I may clear it up later. America's so-called Negro, as you know, have been kept in the dark of the truth of self and kind for now 400 years, and the only one to break forth this truth, it is God himself, as it is written. And the Bible, Ezekiel, and prophesied by Jesus, that the dead must rise, mentally dead. So our so-called leadership is as dumb as those they are leading to this knowledge. Therefore, they hoped that they could have a place somewhere in the life of the white man of America and in his country and government. They seek that place. Not that they seek some portion of the country place here. They seek only recognition of the white man as being a citizen of America and being his equal.
Today, the God of truth and righteousness is making himself manifest, that he is not anymore a mystery, but is known and can be seen and heard the earth over. The teaching of a mystery God enslaves the minds of the ignorant. My poor people are the victims of every robber. They are so pitifully blind, deaf, and dumb that it hurts, but I am going to prove to them that I am with Allah and that Allah is with me in spite of their ignorance of Allah and myself, whom he has sent. For I am not self-sent, and the world shall soon know that it is that, and the world shall soon know who it is that sent me. Allah loves us, the so-called Negroes, so that he will give lives for our sake today. Fear not, you are no more forsaken. God is in person, and stop looking for a dead Jesus to help, but pray to him whom Jesus prophesied would come after him. He who was alive and not a spook. Do you hate me because I represent Allah, the living God, your Lord and my Lord? Can you, who believe in a mystery God, trust your mystery to bring you bread or to defend you against your open enemies? If so, on what occasion did he help you? If God is a mystery, you are lying to a world when you say that you know him. He wants to be known. He is his enemy, the devil, who does not want God to be known to you and me. Do you refer to God as he, him? These pronouns refer to a man. Do you say that you want to be like him? Surely you don't want to be a spirit without form, as spirits have no material form. Your God and my God is a material being, the supreme of beings. Happy Monday, happy Monday, happy Monday. Welcome back to On the Shoulders of Giants. I am Joseph Ward, and I am beginning my reading of the Honorable Elijah Mohammad's book, The Message to the Blackman in America. And I'm beginning in the first part, Allah is God. And I start reading on page 3 in the in the 5th paragraph of page 3 is where I started reading. So in the beginning of this book, Elijah Mohammad is laying the foundation of his belief in Islam, his belief in God, and what he believes Christianity has done to Black people in America. So He believes that Wallace Fard Mohammad is the embodiment of Jesus, and he's the messenger of Wallace Fard Mohammad, and they have come to give Black people a new way to exist outside of Christianity, which was given to Black people by their slave masters. So he's giving information to help Black people free themselves from the shackles, the mental, physical, spiritual, and emotional shackles of the white supremacists, the white people. So it's a lot of information in this book that if you read, you may or may not agree with. But we're not here to worry about what we agree or disagree. We're here to get the information that he is giving to us that can help us get to where we need to go. That other piece of the puzzle. I do want to make it clear, I am not pushing any religion on anybody. It ain't my business what you choose to believe in. I'm reading the information. So remember, this is the book that was chosen originally before post-traumatic stress syndrome, but it just didn't arrive soon enough. So we had to keep going with the flow. But we making sure we get into Message to the Black Man. And I like a lot of what I've read so far. So like I said, it's a lot of information in here that you may or may not agree with. That ain't my business, but we are going to get to the meat of it. And the things that I outlined, I felt like greatly pertain to us and could help us and get some understanding around it. So let's pick back up on page 5, the second paragraphs. So the devils reared the poor so-called Negroes for 400 years and put fear in them when they were babies. So we're going to break that down. For 400 years, put fear in them when they were babies. So, and my interpretation is put fear in them when they were babies. When we were first brought over here in America, they had to beat us down to break us. And when they broke us, that's the fear that was instilled into us. You got to remember how Black people became docile in America, how Black people became broken in America. We didn't come here broken. They had to break us. You may or may not agree. I don't think that the Willie Lynch letter was real, but the effects of the Willie Lynch letter is real, and the conditioning and the harsh treatment and the psychological games that were played on slaves and Black people for 400 years, it broke us. But in the beginning, when we were first brought here, we had to be broken to be good slaves. Remember that. They had to break us psychologically, spiritually, emotionally, and especially physically for us to be slaves, to cooperate. So that's what I'm taking from that. So the devils reared the devils reared the poor so-called Negro for 400 years and put fear in them when they were babies. The devils, kept them apart from their own kind coming in from abroad so as to deprive them of any knowledge other than what the devils has taught them. As soon as they hear of a so-called Negro learning and teaching his own people that which they, the devils, would not teach them, the devils then seek to kill that one or trail him wherever he goes, threatening those who would listen to him, believe him, and follow him, knowing that their very presence and inquiries might frighten or scare the Negroes they ask. What is it that you are listening to and believing in? This will frighten most of them away from accepting his or her own salvation and keep them from returning to their own God, religion, and people. Right? Why would the oppressors promote learning that they didn't approve that controls our mind? A lot of Black people who were allowed to read, or when reading was started, they were still reading slave Bibles, or they were being read to from slave Bibles. So any type of learning was still controlled learning, but the object of controlling the learning environment and or not allowing anybody to learn anyway is to keep them enslaved, keep their minds small. You don't want people who you are enslaved, their minds to expand and them to want more and see more, especially want freedom. That's not what you want. So you got to think about that. My people, if you only knew the time and presence of your God, Allah, There should be no fear for you nor grief. But you are deceived in the knowledge of your God. If your God were a mystery, you and I would be a mystery people. Let me just read. If he were a spirit and not a man, he would be all spirits, but not human beings. If he were a mystery or only a spirit, the prophets could not have predicted the coming of that which no one has knowledge of, or of a spirit which cannot be seen, only felt. Because of the false teaching of our enemies, the devils, God has made himself known. For I teach not the coming of God, but the presence of God in person. This kind of teaching hurts the false teachings of the devils, for they knew that God would come in person after you. They, the devils, also are aware that God is present among us, but those of you who are asleep, they desire to keep you asleep. So what I do agree with is the way we would talk Christianity is to hope for some mystery God in the sky that's supposed to come down and save us at this given time. But also, this God is in the image of our oppressors. So not only are we subservient to the physical manifestation of our oppressors, we are subservient to the spiritual manifestation of our oppressor. And we're waiting on somebody to come save us. Powerful people don't wait on somebody to come save them. They save themselves. They figure out a way to save themselves. Remember that. Powerful people don't wait on salvation. They create salvation for themselves. That's what powerful people do. Remember that. So I might pronounce this wrong. Forgive me. Forgive me for pronouncing this wrong if I do. So Habakkuk, I think that's how it's pronounced. Habakkuk uses the pronoun he in reference to God. This pronoun he is only used in the case when we refer to a man or a boy or something of the male sex. Are we living in a material universe or a spirit universe? We are material beings, and my bad. We are material beings and live in a material universe. We will not be making ourselves fools to be looking forward to see that which cannot be seen, only felt. Where is your proof for such a God spirit to teach that God is other than man? It is due to your ignorance of God, or you are one deceived by the devil, whose nature is to mislead you in the knowledge of God. You originally come from the God of righteousness and have the opportunity to return, while the devils are from the man devil Yaqub, who has ruled the world for the past 6,000 years under falsehood, labeled under the name of God and his prophets. So he believes that Elijah Mohammed believes that all white people are the devil, and white people were created by an evil god, Yaqub. And he is the one who's the deceiver of the true God. And because of his belief that all white people come from Yaqub, all white people are inherently evil, he believes. So that's context for what I was just reading. So never before this time did anyone come for the salvation of the so-called Negroes in America, whose rights have been ignored by their enemies, the white race, for 400 years. Now it is incumbent upon Allah to defend the rights of his lost, found, helpless people called the Negroes by their enemies. The whole of the 3rd chapter of Habakkuk is devoted to the coming and work of God amongst our enemies and our deliverance. We must not take our enemies for our spiritual guides, lest we regret it. You are already deceived by them. We seek to follow them in their evil doings. If I would say that God is not man, I would be a liar before him and stand to be condemned. Remember, you look forward to seeing God or the coming of the Son of Man, a man from a man, and not the coming of a spirit. Let that one among you who believes God is other than man prove it. And remember, this is based off his belief that Master Wallace Fard Mohammad is the embodiment of Jesus, and he is the messenger of Wallace Fard Mohammad, who is the embodiment of Jesus. So that's why he is saying that God is a man and God is present, and you don't have to wait for God to come save you because God is here, because that's his belief that Master Fard Mohammad is the embodiment of Jesus. But still taking from it though, I don't agree with his, I don't disagree with his idea that Christianity has did a job on us. Christianity has done a job on the black people in America, but it was specifically designed to do that. But we must understand that Christianity was designed to do that. Christianity was designed to help keep us docile. Well, the use of Christianity, I'm not going to say Christianity was designed for that. The use of Christianity on the slave, let me restate that. The use of Christianity on the slave was used to keep the slave docile, to keep the slave a slave. So we got to understand that when we're talking about religions. Now, to be fair, Islam has also, a lot of black people have been enslaved through Islam as well. So neither Christianity or Islam has been favorable to black people as far as helping us get our salvation from being enslaved by people, because we've been enslaved by people through Islam and we've been enslaved by people through Christianity. Now, modern day Christianity has been used to keep us where we are here in America. But if we're talking historically, black people, African people have been enslaved by both people who come from the Islamic faith and people who come from the Christian faith, to be fair, on the historical level. Now, we're talking about on a historical level in America, it's Christianity. It's Christianity. Most black people in America are very, 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 very devout Christians. Very devout Christians. Now, what we do know, also to be fair, what we do know, a lot of our freedom fighters were Christians. We often talk about Nat Turner. We often talk about Marcus Garvey. We often talk about Harriet Tubman. They were Christians. So that's why I say I, Joseph Ward, am not here to push any religion. I am here to get the information and see how it pertains to us and works for us. But I am trying to be fair across the board to paint a clear picture that, in my opinion, it's not the religion of the person, but it's the values in the person. And I know some would say, well, the religion can instill values. It can. It could be a piece of the thing that instills the values in the person, but it doesn't have to be the whole. Because we know people who follow religions who are good people, and we know people who follow religions who are bad people. So just putting that out. So let's pick up. So the origin of the origin of God as a spirit and not a man. The American so-called Negroes are gravely deceived by their slave masters' teaching of God and the true religion of God. I agree with that. They do not know that they are deceived and do earnestly believe that they are taught righteousness, how evil the white race may be. Not knowing self or anyone else, they are prey in the hands of the white race, the world's arch deceivers, the real devils in person. You are made to believe that you worship the true God, but you do not. God is unknown to you in that which the white race teaches you, a mystery God. I agree with that. I do agree with that. I do agree with that. The way it was taught to us in a way to keep us where they wanted us. So the great arch deceivers, the white race, were taught by their father, Yaqub, 6,000 years ago, how to teach that God is a spirit, a spook, and not a man. And the grafting of his people, the white race. Mr. Yaqub taught his people to contend with us over the reality of God by asking us of the whereabouts of that first one, God, who created the heavens and the earth, and that Yaqub said, we cannot do. Well, we all know that there was a God in the beginning that created all these things, and do know that he does exist today. But we know again that from that God, the persons of God continued until today, his people. And today, a supreme one, God, has appeared among us with the same infinite wisdom to bring about the complete change. This is he whom I preach and teach you to believe and obey. The devils call him a mystery God, but yet claims that he beget that he beget a son by Mary. They call on you and me to take the son of Mary for a God who was a man before and after his death. Yet they deny the coming of God to be a man. If Jesus were a son of God, what about Moses and the other prophets? Were they not his sons since they were his prophets? The belief in God and the belief in a God other than man and spirit, Allah has taught me, goes back into the millions of years long before Yaqub, the father of the devils, because the knowledge of God was kept as a secret from the public. This is the first time that it has ever been revealed, and we, the poor, been rejected and despised people, are blessed to be the first of all the people of the earth to receive this secret knowledge of God. If this people, the white race, would teach you truth, which has been revealed to me, they would be hastening their own doom, for they were not created to teach us the truth, but rather teach us falsehood, just contrary to the truth. Now, what I love about this part is he's challenging us to think critically about what we believe in. Whether I agree or disagree with what he's saying, I'm not getting into that. But what I do like about this is he's challenging us to think critically about what we believe in. Does it make sense? What you believe in, does it make sense? Does 1 + 1 = 2 in this? If what you believe in doesn't make sense, why we believe it? Is it practical? Is it something that can practically help us? Because remember, in this time and space that we are, and we've been in this time and space for a long time, but for us, where we are coming into our realization of this, is it practical? Is it something practical that can help us free ourselves? Is it practical? Is it something that can help us build what we need to build for ourselves and come together and throw off the shackles of white supremacy? Is it something that we can use? And I say critically analyzing everything is practical. It's something you can use right now. Why do I believe in this? Why is this important? Why did this person say this? Well, why did I say this? Why did I make this move? Critically analyze everything. Don't just take stuff face value. Don't just, well, it's what they said. It's what, does it make sense? If it don't make sense, what we doing? What we doing? If you give me something that I can't practically use, what we doing? The coming of the Son of Man, the great Mahdi. My greatest and only desire is to bring true understanding of the word of God, his prophets and the scriptures, which the prophets were sent with pertaining to the lost found people, the American so-called Negroes of the God of judgment of the world. You must forget about ever seeing the return of Jesus, who was here 2,000 years ago. Set your heart on seeing the one that he prophesied would come at the end of the present world's time, the white race's time. And so I marked that part because he was talking about the end of the present world time, the end of the white race, because that's one of the things that he's getting into when he's talking about the end of the present time. He's talking about the end of the reign of the white race oppressing the black man. And he believes that God is the God that he believes in is going to come and eradicate the white race and eradicate their oppression of us and free black people. So that's what he means by the end of the present world time, because in parentheses, it says the white race's time. He is called the Son of Man, the Christ, the Comforter. You are really foolish to be looking to see the return of the prophet Jesus. It is the same as looking for the return of Abraham, Moses, and Muhammad. All of these prophets prophesied the coming of Allah are one with equal power under many names. You must remember that Jesus could not have been referring to himself as returning to the people in the last days. He prophesied of another's coming who was much greater than he. Jesus even acknowledged that he did not know when the hour would come in these words. But if that day and hour cometh, no man, no, not the angels of heaven, but my Father only. And that's Matthew 24:36. So, like I say, basically this is more of Elijah Muhammad giving his views on Christianity. He doesn't believe Jesus is God. Elijah Muhammad didn't believe Jesus was God. Elijah Muhammad believed that Jesus was just another prophet preaching the word, and that Jesus was not going to come back and save us like we were taught. So that's the crux of that. Your misunderstanding and misinterpretation of it is really the joy of the devils. And remember, when he's talking about the devils, he's talking about the white people. For it is the devil's desire to keep the so-called Negroes ignorant of the truth of God until they see it with their eyes. The truth of God is the salvation and freedom of the so-called Negroes from the devil's power. And so just take the truth of God and just take that as truth. Information, enlightenment, wisdom, knowledge, understanding. Information that we can practically use to help ourselves, to free ourselves. You can call it the knowledge of God if you want. It is information that we can practically use to help us. That's what it should be. Any information that we're going to call powerful needs to actually lead to a practical outcome. If it doesn't actually lead to a practical outcome, how powerful is the information? Right? Now, I do take into account that sometimes the information could be the right information, but be in the hands of the wrong person. So I am taking that into account. So let me say that before somebody jump in the comments. All right, let's move ahead. So page 13, the coming of Allah. The reality of God. I have been and am still trying to make clear to you how important this is. This knowledge of the true God, the reality of God, has been and is even now a mystery to the world of mankind, with a few exceptions. The day has come that all mankind must know the reality of Allah God. There can be no judgment of the people until this knowledge has been given to the people. How can we serve a God without knowledge of him? Which is a great question. Which is a fantastic question. How can you really serve a God that you barely understand and you barely know? That's a great question. That's a great question. My people, the so-called Negroes are the worst off when it comes to the reality of God, because we believe in the God that was given to us through our slave masters, that we don't truly understand. The majority of us, because we haven't taken the time to truly understand, we just go with the flow. Well, whatever the sayings are, we repeat the sayings and we remember the sayings, and that becomes tradition and culture. Study doesn't. The practicality that comes into knowing God doesn't go into it. And whatever spiritual path you take, whatever you believe helps you get to know God, I hope you're doing that. But I hope you are not being weighed down by religion. I hope religion isn't hampering you from being able to see what's going on and working to fix what's going on, i.e., our battles with white supremacy. So I will say that. The Bible mentions him as the Son of Man and also mentions him as not being a man but a spirit. On one side, he is made clear, and on the other side, he is made a mystery. Representation such as this causes confusion in understanding. We are blind to the knowledge of God when we make him a mystery and unreal. So he's talking about the duality, or the, not the duality, but he's talking about how Jesus is given to people. So on one hand, they say Jesus is the spirit, and on the other hand, they say he is man. And so he's getting at that and saying that doesn't make sense. Elijah Mohammad is saying he's either man or he's spirit. But Elijah Mohammad is also saying that he is man because he is man and manifest, such as Wallace Fard Mohammad. So Allah came to us from the holy city Mecca, Arabia in 1930. He used the name Wallace D. Fard when often signing it W.D. Fard in the third year, 1933. He signed his name W.F. Muhammad, which stands for Wallace Fard Mohammad. He came alone. He began teaching us the knowledge of ourselves, of God and the devil, of the measurement of the earth and other planets, and of the civilization of some of the planets other than Earth. He measured and weighed the earth and its water, the history of the moon, the history of the two nations, black and white, that dominate the earth. He gave the exact birth of the white race, the name of their God who made them, and how, and the end of their time, the judgment, how it will begin and end. He taught us the truth of how they were made slaves and how we are kept in slavery by the slave master's children. He declared the doom of America for her evils to us was past due, and that she is number one to be destroyed. Her judgment could not take place until we hear the truth. He declared that we were without the knowledge of self or anyone else, how we had been made blind, deaf, and dumb by the white race of people, and how we must return to our people, our God, and his religion, the peace of Islam, the religion of the prophets. We must give up the slave names and our slave masters and accept the name of Allah, God, or one of his divine attributes. He also taught us to give up all evil doings and practices, do righteousness, or be destroyed from the face of the earth. Now, taken from this, so once again, he believes Wallace Fard Mohammad is the embodiment of Jesus. Now, for us to stop believing what our slave masters has given us, I'm all with that. For us to clean up our act, for us to no longer be deaf, dumb, and blind, for us to no longer be, because he's talking about throwing off the Negro mindset. That's what he's getting at. He's getting at throwing off that Negro mindset, but he's saying it through his lens. So don't get blinded by the lens. Don't concentrate on the lens. Don't concentrate on his view of Allah or his view of religion, but really think about what he's saying. He's talking about us throwing off that Negro mindset. He's talking about us having embracing righteousness and a higher form of living, a higher form of thought. That's what he's getting at, right? So we have to admit that the Nation of Islam did a good job of cleaning up a lot of black people. The most famous was Malcolm X. Because of information like this, him understanding that we got to throw off this Negro mindset. We got to throw off this Negro mindset to be better people for our people and for our future generations to be better. That's what I'm taking from that. You might take something different, but that's what I'm taking from that is, without the knowledge of self or anyone else, how we had been made blind, deaf, and dumb by the white race of people, how we must return to our people, our God, and his religion, the religion of the prophets. We must give up our slave masters' names and accept Allah of his divine attributes. We must accepting Allah's divine attributes, godly attributes. That's a good thing. Whether you believe in Allah or not, whoever your God is, you want to reflect your God's attributes. You want to reflect the attributes of a divine being rather than your oppressors. Especially if you follow a religion or even if you're spiritual, you're thinking about the attributes of the universe, the attributes of God, or how you see God. I see God as a universal force that emanates everything that is alive. It has the greatest attributes of humanity, the highest order of humanity, the highest form of humanity, the highest form of spirituality. It's not something that, because when you really take it serious, however you see God, when you're really taking it serious, you should be putting your best foot forward. You should wake up every day looking to be the greatest version of yourself. Whatever you're following, if you're following that and it's not inspiring you to be the greatest version of yourself, well, like Elijah Mohammad is saying, you might need to get away from that. You might need to find you something different. He so happened to believe that Islam is the way. He also says, also bear witness that it certainly has enslaved my people here in America, 100%. He chose me to hear the message of life to my people here. Islam is our salvation. It removes fear, grief, and sorrow from any believer, and it brings to us peace of mind and contentment. The greatest hindrance to the truth of our people is the preacher of Christianity. He will not accept it, nor is he content to let others alone who are trying to keep the truth. He is the man who stands in the way of the salvation of the people. And as soon as the people awaken to the knowledge of this man and their way to God, freedom and justice and equality, to stop following him, the sooner they will be in heaven while they live. So not only preachers, but faulty leaders stand in our way of us getting to where we need to get. Not only the preachers, but the faulty leaders. Faulty leaders, period, are against Black people. Any bad leaders that we have in Black America, you are against Black people. Any bad leaders who are forcing Black people, who are pushing us toward things that are not in our best interest, you're not a good leader. You don't like Black people. You are, as Elijah Mohammad said, you are of the work of the devil. Now, his focus is on the Christian preachers. He believes that the Christian preachers are taking us backwards. Now, he's not totally incorrect. Let's just call it like it is. He's not totally incorrect. Because we talk about religion on this channel all the time. We talk about false preachers. We're always talking about it. So a lot of Christian preachers brought into the bull. We don't have a lot of Nat Turners. We don't have a lot of Martin Luther Kings and Malcolm X's and preachers who are really about our liberation, preachers who really want to see Black people get better, but they just so happen to be Christian preachers. We don't have a lot of that. We do have a lot of, it seems like we don't have a lot. I'm not going to act like I'm not going to say and act like I've met every preacher. I'm not going to do that. I'll take that back. It seems like we don't have a lot of. Do I know if it's true or not? I don't know. I haven't met every preacher, but from what it looks like we don't have a lot of preachers who are for the betterment of Black people. Seems like a lot of them are for the betterment of themselves and the betterment of their place in the white man's eyes. And that's what Elijah Mohammad is getting at. These are the days of the resurrection of the mentally dead so-called Negroes. The Son of Man is here. His coming has been fulfilled. He seeks that which was lost, the so-called Negroes. Many now are receiving his name, and that name alone will save you. The wicked nations of the earth are sorry and angry to see the Son of Man set up a government of justice and peace over this their wicked world. They see signs in heavens, the sky of great power to execute judgment on the world of the wicked, and they mourn. So one of the reasons why he put this book out is to get Black people to think different, to see different, to start questioning things, to see the world in a different light, and to follow Islam. We'll say that, and to follow Islam, but that's not my angle. But he did put this book out to help Black people wake up. He put this book came out in. It was originally published when? Let me see. Message to the Black Man in America was originally published when? 1973. That's what this says. Copyright. Well, this copyright 1973. Still talking about it. We still talking about it. Tyrone had been cloned so many times since 1973. It's ridiculous. But remember, we're talking about a cycling of a mind state, not an actual cloning of real people. We're talking about a cloning of a mind state, the cycling of a mind state. The so-called Negroes have no home that they call their own. They have helped the white race to own a free country, but they have nothing for themselves. This is the purpose of his coming, to give everyone that which is rightfully theirs. The Son of Man has power over all things. You cannot find a defense against him in the war. Your weapons mean nothing. The powers of heaven and earth today will be ordered to fight on the side of the Magi against his enemies. He is the friend of the so-called Negroes and not of the white people. His purpose is to take the so-called Negroes and kill their enemies, although many of us will suffer the persecutions and hunger. But the good end is for those who will hold fast to Allah and his religion, Islam. They, the devils, are now planning many tricks to keep the so-called Negroes here with them to suffer the fire of hell, which they, the devils, cannot escape. Fly to Allah. Come follow me. Although I may look insignificant to you, you will find salvation with us. The white race is excited and cannot think rightfully for themselves. These so-called Negroes, Muslims in their midst are a shelter, but little do they know it. So, once again, just being real. You may not agree with his teachings or you may not agree with the mindset, but a lot of black men and women turned their life around following this, following his teachings. A lot of black men and women turned their life around following these teachings. You have bad apples in all bunches. You have bad apples in all bunches. But a lot of black men and women were able to become better people following the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Mohammad. So we have to be honest and real about that. So that's my point I want to make on that. But, you know, being able to get our minds right, being able to actually grow up. We call it self-actualization, but black people, we haven't had the chance to grow up and become adults. We can become old, but we haven't become adults and taken our place, because that's a power position. And that's one thing he's getting at, is trying to tell us and trying to help us regain our power and put ourselves in a power position, a position to be respected as adults, respected as a nation, respected as a people. We can't be respected as a people, especially with the way we're behaving in public right now. Nobody respects us as people. We don't even respect ourselves as people. We don't respect ourselves. We are ashamed of our behavior. But we can change our behavior by realizing that, hey, we are more than what we've been told we are. We are more than hoochies and thoughts and hoes and whores. We're more than gangsters and thugs and scammers and killers and gang and you know, all of that stuff. We're more than that. We know the imagery that has been drilled into our psyche. We know that, but we must counter that with information like this. Like I say, you may not agree with everything he's saying, but he on point with a lot of stuff. What I'm trying to make clear is that white people do not believe in Allah and Islam or the prophets of Allah. But we found that to be not true. So why then would you seek truth of it from them? You will soon come to know that you should not seek any truth from them. They have you following the wrong direction and hope to keep you like that. But by my Allah's power and wisdom and my life's blood, you shall know the truth even against your own will. Now, it's not true that white people don't follow Islam. We know. And even Malcolm X found out that white people do follow Islam. But I do agree with we got to stop allowing white America to be our teachers, to be the ones who give us this information. Now, like the great Dr. John Henry Clark said, study everything. Study as much information as possible, whether it comes from who or where or whatever. Study everything, but white people should not be the main source of our information that we are getting at. I know some of y'all might say, well, that ain't what Elijah Mohammad is saying in this, but that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. And yes, one of those aspects is religion, because we have a history of, hey, when they give us religion, it usually keeps us slaves. So, you know, understanding that we should not be seeking wisdom and truth from them. We should be seeking wisdom and truth from ourselves. I agree with that. I'm with them on that. They've already deceived us thus far. White supremacists have already deceived us thus far. Why would we continue to believe in a people who have a history of deceiving us? At some point, we gotta believe in ourselves. So I'm with them on that. At some point, we gotta believe in ourselves. White people who subscribe to white supremacy, why are we believing anything they tell us? Surely now, and I do want to say this: Elijah Mohammad believes that all white people are the devils. I don't. But That's how he sees the world. So I am going to give the information as he give it, and I'm not going to try to step on his information. That's how he sees it. He's allowed to see the world the way he sees the world. So surely if the father of the two peoples, black and white, were the same, the two would love each other because they are of the same flesh and blood. It is natural for them to love each other. Again, it is not unnatural for them then for a member or members of a different race or nation to not love the non-member of their race or nation as their own. So what I'm taking from that is white people don't see us as the same as them. So because they don't see us as the same as them, even though we're all human beings, they don't see us as the same as them. So they see us as their enemies. They see us as less than them. They see us as less than animals. That's why we were chattel. So why wouldn't they war on us? Why wouldn't they enslave us? Why wouldn't they oppress us when they see us as less than human? Seek first the friendship of your own people and then the friendship of others. Seek first the friendship of your own people and then the friendship of others. Dr. John Henry Clark told us we have no friends. We are the only thing we have. Black people, we're the only thing we have. And right now, we don't seek friendship among ourselves. We don't see each other as people that we can even be friendly with. Because of the vacant esteem that we have, individual and collective, we see each other as enemies. We don't see each other as coming from the same family group. But that's what Elijah Mohammad was getting at when he was saying that we got to stop being dumb, deaf, and blind. We got to stop seeking our information from the white people. We've already been conditioned by the white people for 400 years to think like this, to behave like this. So at some point we got to stop and we have to use something. Now, once again, you may not agree with Elijah Mohammad or the Nation of Islam, but the Nation of Islam was a conduit to help black people become better. It was a conduit to help black people become better. So the so-called Negroes have been led into the gravest of errors in the knowledge of God and the true religion of Islam by their white slave masters. They, the so-called Negroes, have been robbed more than any other people on the planet Earth. If they will only read and listen to the simplest of truths, of which I write and speak, have three essentials in it: power, light, and life. I am mortal like you. It is revealed to me that your God is one God. Will you not bear witness with Muhammad and the above quoted chapter and verse of the Holy Quran? And that was 18:110. The white race will not agree with Muhammad and the true religion of God, which is Islam, because the nature in which they are created as they were the opposers of Allah and the truth. They, the white people, know that the so-called Negroes believe in them, but with the help of my God, who came in the person of Master W.F. Muhammad, we will show up the false with the truth in the plainest, simplest form. Now remember context too. Remember, he's mostly aiming this at white people in America. So white people in America at that time were opponents of the Nation of Islam and Islam as a whole. White people looked at Islam as something that they wasn't down with. Like especially white Christian, real Christian white supremacist people. So you got to understand that context of what he's talking about, with white people truly rejecting Islam and not being a part of Islam and not wanting to seek the truth of Islam, because in those white people's mind, Christianity was the way. In Elijah Muhammad's mind, Islam was the way. But Elijah Mohammed also understands that his people was enslaved and Christianity was a tool that was used to enslave his people. He understands that. So, one of the ways to free yourself from your oppressor is to give them back all the things that they gave you. So you see the trouble that our people and the American whites are suffering from, the struggle of our people with the few whites on their side to bring about integration between the two races of which is opposed by God himself. It is the time that the two people should separate. So I don't disagree with. Well, we know I don't disagree with his opposition to integration. Um, his opposition to integration was something that was needed. It was needed. No, hindsight, we can see that integration was not good for Black people. We can see that hindsight, integration was not good for Black people. You had as he talked about in the clip, you had a group of Black people who were pro-integration. The Nation of Islam were against integration. And one of the things that they saw was we already have our power bases. Why would we give up our power to the white people? But we gave up our power to the white people through integration. So that I am with him on that. Black people needed to be amongst ourselves, building for ourselves. I am cool with that. I don't disagree with the separate but equal. I don't disagree with that. The whole world knows the poor so-called Negroes of America have suffered and still suffer more grief and sorrow than any people on the earth. This fear is the fear of the slave masters, white man, and that the slave masters dislike. Let the so-called Negroes submit to Allah, and they will not fear anymore, nor will they grieve, as it is written, the fear of man bringeth a snare. It has surely snared the so-called Negroes. And that's where I'm gonna end my reading. That's page 29. And this first part is Allah is God, but everybody knows the plight and the position. Well, I'm not gonna say everybody knows. A lot of people in the Western world have an idea. A lot of people in the modernized Western world have an idea. There are a lot of people in the world who don't know the plight of the Negro. Within America, everybody knows that Black people, where we are, our place, our position in the world. We all know that. And we all see how we operate as Black people in the world. A lot of people don't understand why we behave the way we behave, but we understand the way we behave. We understand it's the conditioning, it's the programming that we've been given. And until we throw it off, this is how we will behave. But Elijah Mohammad came through and said, hey, Islam should seem like a better choice because I'm offering you Islam as a choice. I'm not forcing Islam down your throat. Your slave masters force Christianity down your throat, and therefore, bam, you're a Christian now. And you have generations and generations and generations upon people who are Christians, and you have no real progress in the world. But I'm offering you Islam as a choice. You don't have to take it. But if you don't take Islam, your other choice is your slave master's religion. So come with me. Let me clean you up. Let me give you Islam. Let me show you to submit to Allah rather than submitting to Jehovah. You submit to Allah. And then from there, you can see how if we work together, we change our, because I'm giving you a new program. I'm giving you a new program so you can see the world different, experience the world different, and verbalize your experience to the world different. It will clean you up. It will give you a better light than what you have from your slave master. Now, can we say 100% of the people who came through the Nation of Islam, even Elijah Muhammad himself, or even some people talk about Wallace Fard Mohammad. I know it's going to be all in the comments. People are going to be saying Wallace Fard Mohammad was a scam, or some people are going to say he's not. Some people are going to say Elijah Muhammad was a scam, or some people are going to say he was not. Some people are going to say they agree with the Nation of Islam. Some people are going to say they're not. I'm not here to say that I agree or disagree with his religious views, but we're talking about how did this relate to our position to white supremacy in America, and how does this help us to better our position? How does this help to make us a more powerful people, a more powerful opponent to white supremacy? How does this information help us get better? How does this information help us truly grow our minds, throw out the shackles of slavery and grow our minds to actually become a respected contender on the world market, rather than just Black people who are surviving and hoping somebody come save us. So I do agree that we got to stop waiting on somebody to come save us. Got to stop waiting on somebody to come save us. We have to learn to love ourselves and turn within and understand nobody coming to save us. We got to save ourselves. So if we got to save ourselves, that means we got to work together. And the best way to save ourselves and to work together is to be the greatest versions of ourselves. Put the nigga stuff aside and become black men and black women. So once again, Message to the Black Man. I read from page where did I start? Where did I start? Where did I start? So from page 1 to page 30. That is the first part of it. Allah is God, from page 1 to page 30. So make sure you get your copy and you read, and then we will pick up on the second part, Original Man, which will be from page 31 to page 31 to page 67. Original Man, what we will be reading next time. So Message to the Black Man by Elijah Mohammad. A Message to the Black Man in America by Elijah Mohammad. You know, the link will be in the description. Ways to support us in the description. Make sure you like this video, subscribe, get in that comment section, share. Let's run these views up. Let's keep running the subscriber count up. Let's keep helping this channel grow. I appreciate you all. This channel is growing, getting this information out. We're doing our thing. So let's keep pushing, keep pushing, keep pushing, keep pushing. 100,000, we on our way. But let's get this information out. I'm trying to touch as many black people as possible. Hey, I got my Black History curriculum. I got Black History lesson plans. If you want to see me in your city teaching Black History, contact information is in the description. So holla at y'all. I love you.